The White Sox won the finale and they took the series from New York. The Yankees have some problems, but I did not see the Chicago White Sox winning that series. White Sox front office must have had their feelings hurt because Kenyon Middleton's relief appearance on Wednesday night was glazed over. And whether you like it or not, Elvis Andrus is playing second base.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome back to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong, die-hard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Chicago White Sox will host the Milwaukee Brewers on Friday. Michael Kopech will be on the hill. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. State of the Sox. They are 47-69, 13 games back in the AL Central. Every game counts. A win will not be compromised, as we will hear from Pedro Grifol later in this episode. 22 games under 500 here as we sit on August 10th. Of 2023. Hey, it was a fun one on the South Side on Wednesday night. Sox beat the Yankees 9-2. They took the series. How about that? Did not see that coming. Really, especially after Tuesday night. That was a dejecting loss, lifeless offense. But the Sox came storming back. Clevinger on the hill for the White Sox. Not too shabby. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. That ERA definitely sub 4. It's around 3.5, 3.55. So I mentioned this guy in the last episode. You know, there's a mutual option for 2024. And with the way the rotation looks right now, which you really have got Cease and Kopech, and I do believe Kopech will stay in the starting rotation. I don't think they're going to try to mess around with the bullpen with him. They are going to force him to figure it out. And I'm looking forward to his start on Friday to see if he can kind of, get a couple of these positive starts together. But back to Clevinger, he's been sneaky reliable, aside from getting hurt, getting that arm issue that shelved him for a little while. So this could change depending on what the White Sox want to do and what kind of personnel they're trying to put on this team, what their offseason might look like. But you got to figure, Clevinger might very well be in this rotation in 2024. White Sox offense, 9 runs, 11 hits. Yoan Moncada, 2 doubles. Love it. Maybe he's not as hurt as we can imagine. I don't know with that back issue, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I thought it was swinging from like the right side. One side of the plate, he was giving him a lot of problems with that back, so he wasn't able to do it 100%. I guess he's still not playing at 100%. Is it the fielding that also can be problematic? But man, again, like if this is the type of offense that we can kind of regularly expect from Moncada. What a different season this would be. And you can say that about so many other White Sox players. It's like Colas with his first home run at home, I believe. Did I see that? Again, we weren't going to expect much from Oscar Colas, but still, this is why you keep putting him out there, in my opinion. This is why you play Oscar Colas. He is your future more than Gavin Sheets is your future out in right field. And we're going to talk a little about that in terms of Elvis Andrus in a moment here. But, that was my issue with them kind of dealing with Colas, like, well, we're going to, bring you up here. You're going to start the season with the big league claim. You're at a 10 and we need you at an 8 in terms of boombox noise level. We're going to, let you figure some things out in the minors. Like, let him figure it out here. He can hit in the minors. Let him figure it out here at the major league level. It's going to be a rough season for him, but, hopefully he has got the right support, which, again, we don't know with this White Sox organization. I don't know anymore if he actually does have the right support and they know how to support young hitters like Oscar Colas and develop them. But figure it out here. You're going to take your bumps, learn, and then you've got this to go over video-wise, other eyes to help you out in the offseason. So good to see that from Colas. Speaking of the future, the present, all things intertwined, Elvis Andrus, he continues to hit. He continues to swing the bat well. He had a 3 RBI night on Wednesday. And again, I'm going to get to him in a little bit, but what are we doing here? Pedro Grifol's got some comments on that. Sox struck out 7 times, walked 4. Not bad compared to their previous game. They were 5 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Yaz was back in the lineup after leaving Tuesday's game with knee soreness. TA was back in the lineup and back in the top spot. He was 1 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. So back to Elvis Andrus. A lot was made before the game on Twitter or on X or whatever we're going to be just calling it now about Elvis Andrus and his playing time and what is going on here. Why do we have Elvis Andrus continually at second base? And this was from Vinny Duber of CHGO. This is what he put up on social media. For those asking why, Grifol said Elvis is playing good baseball right now. He also said that while experience for young guys is important, we're never going to compromise a major league win for development. Now, that's where I take a little bit of exception, and I have to I don't get it. That's what I don't understand, and I wish there were some further questions, some clarification. Maybe Vinny did on Twitter, and I just didn't get to that far down the scroll there. White Sox are 22 games under 500, 13 back in the division. It's August 10th. I'm not interested in throwing games away either. I hope there is at least a focus, which I think that is what Pedro Grifol is all about these next 2 months, is focus. And I'm glad Andrus is finally hitting the ball. But is he the future? And when will the White Sox start seeing what they have in potential future second baseman, namely Lenyn Sosa? So, again, I'm torn with this. Hey, I want to see the Sox win. Of course, I want to see the Sox win. It's always a better recording when the White Sox win, I think. But right now, with where they're at in the standings in the division, with record-wise and with the calendar, this season is lost here in my mind. It's clearly lost, right? So what are we doing here for 2024? Now, is Elvis Andrus really going to be on this team in 2024? In a way, in a weird way, I think Pedro Grifol is definitely coming back in 2024. That's such a White Sox thing for them to bring him back. And if Pedro's coming back, well, then there might even be a chance that Elvis comes back to play second. Wouldn't that be such a White Sox thing to do? So, again, I'm glad Elvis is playing well, but at some point I need to see the guys playing well that are going to be with the team maybe in 2024, or at least they're going to be guys that they're going to give a tryout to and a serious look in Arizona before the season starts. And I jokingly say, oh, well, Elvis Andrus will be back in 2024. I hope not. I hope they go in a different direction with some of the youth, some of the guys that they have, or they absolutely address the need with, a serious veteran move in the offseason, for some premium talent, if it's even out there. I think it's going to be a weak, free agency. So we'll see what even the potential is. But more than likely, it should be someone like Lenyn Sosa in a year that they're probably not going to be competitive. So again, when will we see that? Again, excited, but I want to be excited for the success of guys that are probably going to be with this team in 2024, like a Michael Kopech. If he pitches well again on Friday, that's good development for next season. So we did not see Kenyon Middleton pitch in the series until Wednesday night. Now, he pitched 2 innings, gave up to a run, a couple hits. But what was interesting was how the White Sox apparently handled Middleton's appearance. Now, I saw this all over social media, saw it on Twitter, and I believe this came from someone with the handle at Southside Ivan. And I think then this took off and it was retweeted by Sox on 35th and a bunch of other accounts. And Middleton comes into the game, and normally on the big jumbotron in center, and there's other spots around the ballpark where you will have the name of the reliever, the pitcher, whoever is in at that time from the opposition. There was nothing. It was left blank. That nameplate was blank where it would typically say Middleton. There was nothing, like he didn't even exist. And it was like that in other spots around the stadium where they usually announce who is pitching at the time. Unbelievable if that is really true, and how the White Sox front office and the organization decided to play it. Petty stuff. Wow. I get it. Han goes by the code of what happens in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse. That is not how it goes anymore. It is just not, with social media, how it is and how it has been for several years now. Everything gets leaked. Everything gets pushed out. It is not how it was years and years ago. So hurt feelings there by the White Sox, perhaps, as Middleton called out the Sox on no rules, lack of leadership, lack of culture. And when he came into pitch, they decided to not even recognize him and didn't even put up his name on the scoreboard. Luis Robert Jr. was removed from Wednesday night's game with a sprained pinky finger on his right hand. X-rays were negative. He is day-to-day. Pedro Grifol was able to reflect and take notes from Reinsdorf's suite. And why are the White Sox the way they are? More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Our White Sox face off against the Brewers on Friday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. This is from Lamont Pope of the Chicago Tribune. Pedro Grifol, of course, served a one-game suspension on Tuesday, and this was Pope's write-up in what Pedro Grifol experienced. Serving a one-game suspension is part of the fallout from Saturday's Sox-Cleveland Guardians brawl. Grifol watched the series opener against the New York Yankees from Chairman Jerry Reinsdorf's suite at Guaranteed Rate Field. He tried to make the most of the view. That's saying that the farther you are away from the game, the slower it is or the easier it gets. It looked pretty slow and pretty easy from up there, Grifol said before Tuesday's game. It was pretty nice. I was able to see a lot of things that I think are really important for our growth, fundamental things that we probably need to address. Obviously, I didn't want to not be managing, but I took advantage of a different look to see some things that I wanted to address. Grifol adjusted and saw some value in Monday's perspective. The game is seen in a different way, he said. I remember scouting. I was taught that if you cut the field in half and focus on catcher, third base, shortstop, and left field pre-pitch, you're able to have them in your sights and see pre-pitch and then do it to the other side as well. I was able to do that on Monday, and it was pretty valuable for me. I took a lot of notes, and there's a lot of things we'll go over as a staff. Always learning is Pedro Grifol. Nonstop coaching, nonstop teaching, always trying to get better. We are so lucky to have him in the dugout for our beloved Chicago White Sox. Rick Morrissey in the Sun-Times, great op-ed piece. I love this stuff. Keep coming. Keep hammering away at Reinsdorf and the ownership group and the front office. You know, people will say they don't care. They don't think about this. It's all just white noise. Fine. Keep going at them, though. Keep going. I feel like deep down somewhere, they do care about this. They hate the negative publicity. And I think that's what Reinsdorf and Hahn and Williams and the executives, they want apathy. They want us all to just go away. Just stop complaining. Stop talking about this team. You know, just go away. Be quiet. Don't make a fuss. Don't bring anything to anybody's attention. Just pretend it doesn't exist. Sweep it under the rug. Just everybody just be silent. They want apathy. So, you know, this is what I think you have to do. You have to keep attacking them, shedding light on just the absolute disgust of this front office. Top down, it is a mess. This was what Morrissey wrote. The Jerry Reinsdorf problem when an owner doesn't want to own up to anything. The White Sox 2-year debacle is marked not just by their dismal performance, but by ownership's inaction. Why own a team if you don't want to behave like an owner? If you want to run a neighborhood grocery store where all the employees have worked there for 30 years and you know the customers by name, go do that. But even a grocery store owner wouldn't put up with the ineffective stackers and some bad apples in the produce department. What's the point of being an owner of a professional sports franchise if it's not to win? There is no other point. Reinsdorf apparently wants to let his 6 NBA titles and 1 World Series title talk for him, as if that has the final word on everything. If he's thinking that no one can take that away from him, he's right. But we're 25 years removed from the last of those Bulls titles. That is unbelievable. And 18 years removed from the Sox's last championship. It might be ancient history, but it's heading towards medieval history. It's been one indignity after another for the Sox and their fans. A more responsive owner would reach out in some way, whether it be through the media to calm the fan base or through what's the obscure word, action. Firing a manager or a general manager during the season isn't always the answer, but it's an answer. But no, not here. If there's one thing we know about Reinsdorf, it's not just that he sticks to his guns. It's that he thinks he invented guns. It's his way then. It's always the right way. His way to stand still. So there was more to that article. It was great. I love this kind of stuff. And it's so true, especially if you've been a White Sox fan for, as long as I have and beyond. And I know so many of you listening and watching are lifers. You've seen it, and you don't necessarily need one of these op-ed pieces, but it's great when it's articulated this way, because it's ancient. The way things are done with the White Sox, it's not like this in other markets, big markets, markets that want to be successful, teams and organizations that know how to put good cutting edge on the forefront products out there. It's not what the White Sox are doing. So a lot of folks wondering about, what's going on with SoxFest? We haven't had one in a while. The Cubs got their act together. Tickets go on sale Thursday for the Cubs annual fan convention. The White Sox were non-committal about whether they will host SoxFest this winter. If the winter passes by without one, it would mark the 4th straight year. As of now, there are no official plans for SoxFest to announce at the moment, but we are working on plans to celebrate fans this winter, a team spokesperson said on Wednesday. Sox have an off day, so you can get your Elvis costume all ready and contemplate your season ticket package. More on that in a moment. So, hey, it was a nice series win against the New York Yankees. Can't stand the Yankees. Again, I've told the story in the previous episode. I'd go to so many games in the late 90s, early 2000s when the Yankees were dominant. And I feel like, they've just been a successful franchise for absolutely ever. And Yankee fans always storm the South Side and pack the house. And you just hear all these chants for Mariano and Jeter, and it's nauseating. So it was good to see the Sox take care of business. I've only been out to New York once to see the Sox play the Yankees, and this was in 2006, and it was at the old Yankee Stadium. And man, the Yankee fans just absolutely gave it to us. The group I was with, I think Sox might have got swept on that trip. And, we were coming off the World Series, and they were going after us about, how many World Series we have won compared to, their rich history. And we made the mistake of sitting out in right field. And at that ballpark, that is where, they yell at the Yankee players to get kind of a response. They yell their last name and clap and chant. In the early parts of the game, they go position by position, player by player, to try to get a tip of the cap or a nod. And we were in the wrong. We were just we were out of our element, if I could use a line from The Big Lebowski. But not a fan, and good to see the Sox beat the Yankees, of course. Hey, you got an off day here, so you can get that Elvis costume. I believe Friday is Elvis night, August 11th. Been to many of Elvis nights over the years. I've worn the jumpsuit, I've worn the wig, did it several times. It's always a great turnout. Always, it's a fun atmosphere. It really is. You're probably not even paying attention to the game. Just people go. It's some people I've heard that is the only game they go to a year is Elvis night. They get a bunch of people together. Everybody dresses up, and you just forget about how bad the White Sox are. You got the football jersey giveaway. That's on Saturday. I think that's a new giveaway this year. They've done the basketball jersey for a couple years and the soccer jersey. Football jersey, I believe, might be the first year they're doing this. That's on Saturday. Brewers in town this weekend. That's in my view an old rivalry. That's when the Brewers, way back when I was a kid, they were playing at Fulton County Stadium. Was that the name of it? And they were in the same division as the White Sox, and it was heated, man. I mean, 90 minutes away, hour and a half, something like that, to get to Milwaukee from Chicago, or at least the north side of Chicago. It's not bad at all. And boy, those were some heated battles. I've made my way up to Milwaukee several times. to see the Sox Brewers. It's a good time. And, I wonder if there's ever going to be like a geographic realignment where maybe the Brewers in St. Louis and, we all get into this same type of division. Ticket renewal, I'm getting some emails about it. I don't know about you. The invoices are coming, and they're coming soon. When I was at the game on Tuesday, I actually ran into my ticket rep, who's absolutely outstanding. A wonderful ticket rep. And, when our paths cross, we usually don't even talk about, the business stuff. It's just other things going on. I've known him for several years. Great guy. But I'm still kind of on the fence if I'm going to renew or not. And it's to each your own. I mean, you do you. I've seen some arguments about like, well, this is where I connect with people, and these are my friends, and this is my, almost my, this is my pastime. This is my getting out. This is my social club, so to speak. And I totally get that. And I feel the same way. And that would, hurt me to, leave the connection of friends that I have and family where like, that's where you meet. That is normal to just, hey, let's all go to a Sox game. But on the other hand, I think like, if I put it in a sense of like a restaurant or something or a bar, and we would go to the same restaurant or the same bar. We loved their food. We loved, what that restaurant stood for and everything like that for years. And it was part of your family. And then all of a sudden, like, everything went downhill. The food was bad. It just something within the organization with the management was way off. It's like, well, do I keep going here, and hoping that something gets better, or do I just take my friends, my collection, my group, and we find something else to do with our time? We'll still follow the Sox, but maybe I don't want to give my money, to the White Sox, and I want to hang out with my friends in a different way, and we'll socialize some other way. But I don't know. They need to show me that there's something new happening, that there's absolute change. They really do. And really, who am I? But I don't know. Maybe if they get enough of these comments from people, I don't know. It probably doesn't do anything anyway. And that's the sad thing here. But I'm still on the fence on that. We will see. A new host as well. I don't think a new host for Locked On White Sox has been figured out yet, but a lot of people have reached out and they've asked me, hey, any news on that? I think the search is going on, but I don't believe somebody's been picked. Trust me, if I get word before my last day on the 17th, hopefully I can have that person on and they could kind of guest and introduce themselves, and I can smooth the path there. And I definitely will pass the information along if I get it, but I have not heard anything as of yet. Folks, thank you so very much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcast. We're on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you can, find it in your heart to subscribe to maybe another White Sox channel, I'll be at Good Guys Talk Back much more consistently once I leave Locked On. We've got a YouTube channel as well. And of course, the audio is available too. Any questions and comments you have, you can get them in at LockedOnSox@gmail.com. Sox take on the Brewers on Friday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Hey, thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. Hey, everydayers, you know who you are. I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the kind messages you've been sending my way. I will catch you up on any new responses that Rick Hahn has for White Sox Twitter, any new names he wants to throw out there and call us, and I'll get you ready for the Brewers series. Appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Morawski. Until next time, go Sox.